All right, what's up, good people? This is Nick Fury. We're here with another Beards of War review, where you have veterans sharing their love of movies with you. Today's movie is going to be 2024 Fall Guy. That's starring Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, and Aaron Taylor Johnson. This movie is it's interesting. It's kind of based loosely off of the beloved Fall Guy series back in 1981-86. This movie opened with a budget of 130 million. Opening day box office weekend was about 28 and a half. So slightly, I think the numbers are coming up on that. This movie was directed by David Leitch, written by Drew Pearce and Glenn A. Larson, who also wrote the original Fall Guy. Key grips are
Key
Adam
grip.
Cooper and Paul McAuliffe. Now, before we get into it, to our sponsor.
Hey guys, Fat Broken Rambo here. Roan Industries is a veteran-owned company that strives to provide better gear for better operators. To do this, they design products with the only necessary moving parts, no excess fluff, and simple functionality. When you get to the checkout section, be sure to put BOW in all caps in order to get a 15% discount from your friends at Beards of War over at Roan.
All right, guys. So Chris here, and so you guys are gonna have to bear with me because this movie was so not as awesome as I was hoping it was going to be. I'm gonna read my kind of narrative about it. You'll probably kind of get that from that read. So here we go. All right. So Beards of War is back at it with another one that, while it had lots of action, it wasn't that awesome 80s classic with PI/stunt guy we grew up with. This somewhat interesting film focuses on after him getting hurt, serving as a valet, right? That's great. Being an ad hoc investigator who really didn't align with the original story, but okay. So if you kind of overlook the parallel love story, put that aside, and how did we really get here, right? That's kind of the question we're asking. At least I'm asking myself. But definitely some welcome Easter eggs, which kind of helps save it from total destruction. But overall, the best of the best on this really is the Easter egg spoilers, because there's going to be spoilers, ladies and gents. So just be prepared. And the homage to Stuntman, because that's really what this kind of was. It wasn't what we knew from the 80s, although there's some hints there.
Okay, I'm not the hero of this story. I'm just a stunt guy. Trying to look cool in front of the director of this movie. That's her, who I just so happen to have a major crush on.
Right. So without further ado, we'll kind of get into this.
Yeah, man. So, like you're saying, man, if for those of you who have a little gray, this is not your fault.
I don't have any gray.
Okay, just a little bit, a lot. I don't know, but the original, like I said, with Colt Seaver, and you have Ryan Gosling reprising that role. Colt Seaver stuntman. But in the original, Lee Majors, Colt Seaver was a bounty hunter. That was the moonlighting job that he had, along with his co-stunt person, Jodie, the Heather Thomas. He also worked with Douglas Barr, who was the other actor that played Howie. And it's kind of like one of those you really can't have a Fall Guy without like those individuals, in my opinion. I mean, it's Fall Guy, but it's different. And this is kind of like how they did with Roadhouse. It's like, if you're gonna call it Roadhouse, there's certain things I expect. I expect Wade. I expect like certain things to kind of still. I mean, you can play with it a little bit, but I still expect that core to
They
be
fell
there.
short on that one though, too, right? Because who did they not have, man? Oh,
This is what I'm
so mad
saying,
they
man.
didn't.
And it's like, but they did, like I said, this was basically, like you said, an homage to the Stuntman, and those guys that did the stunts in this movie, they were fun. Like the action scenes were fun. For me, like you said, that love story between Jodie Moreno, who is Emily Blunt's character, and she's not definitely not a stunt woman, So it's like, okay, is this Jodie from the show or is this a new Jodie? Like, what again? Why give them the same name? Switch it up completely if you're gonna do that. So like you said, in the beginning, you got Cole Seaver. He's doing a stunt, and he gets hurt, and that basically sends him into, oh, I have to find other ways to make ends meet. He ends up being, like you said, being a valet, and he gets called back by, I believe, the producer.
Yeah. Producer.
Because the main actor, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson,
Tom Ryder,
Dan Chucker,
Tom
Ryder.
Yeah.
There you go, Tom Ryder. Right, is going missing, and he's like, "Well, why don't you call the police?" He's like, "Well, you're just
Right?
a stuntman." I'm like, Wait, that
Nobody's gonna
doesn't make any
care
sense,
about you or know that you're
right?
even there.
And the reason for it was because, well, if they find out that I lost the actor, they'll find out we're over budget. You think that's a bigger problem than losing a actor?
The fact you lost the
Like,
actor, they're going to figure it out eventually.
Right, yeah. Exactly. Oh, the budget. We don't want to find about the budget, but the actor, well, whatever. So that's kind of how Colt Seaver gets drawn into looking for this guy. And yeah, so it kind of gets, a little convoluted after that. But, you guys know, like from those scenes where he's finally taking that up and looking for him. And I think he goes to the house, like Tom Rider's house or something like that, has all these Post-it notes all over the place. And that's just where it gets started. Grant, I'll
cool,
let you
man.
jump on
Thanks.
this
Fat Broken Rambo here. Cheers, planet Earth. Paps. All right, so here. Oh, so anyways, so Colt shows up at Tom Rider's apartment and gains entry, and he's doing his thing. I saw this movie on Sunday, and I struggled to remember the plot. Anyways, he gets attacked by, I don't know, some lady with a samurai sword, right? And she's slicing and dicing. He's doing a pretty good job of like keeping distance and making sure she doesn't close the gap. But man, at the end of the fight, she like jams the sword into like a wooden bookshelf or something along those lines. So the sword is stuck, and she goes to pull it out, and the handle of the sword actually comes off. And he's like, "What just happened?" And then she's like, "It's a prop." And there's other reviewers on YouTube that have already drawn attention to this, so I don't want to steal their thunder. Shout out to whoever random the hell you are that I don't remember your name. Anyways, like I'm just like, what a prop! It was such a detraction in this sequence, and I'm just like, and then come to find out she's an actress. Like, okay, cool. Maybe you were rocking your Matrix kind of character, and you had some previous training. I can buy all that.
It was an effective prop. Let's just say that. Yeah, like props don't usually kill people.
Well, yeah. I think there's probably some recent stuff
moving on.
that might say different, but yes, real.
Just say it.
but yeah, 100% with the prop thing, right? Like, how many prop swords do they actually, you swing and they cut into the wood and like stick in there pretty good? Like prop, if that's a prop, like, dude, I'd much rather just be on a set with everything's real. Like, you're probably staying equal odds, right? I think she said she was like his girlfriend or something. But
yeah, Tom Rider's girlfriend.
Yeah. And when they made her out before she said that, they made her out to seem like maybe she was a part of the people who made him go missing or what have you. And you're just, you're kind of at a loss for that whole interaction. It's like, what really is going on? And I think the real, in my opinion, the real reason why he even jumped on it, well, besides then the movie would go nowhere. It wouldn't be a movie if he didn't do something, but was because, well, Jody, right? Because she kind of used that as the hook. Like, yeah, Jody, this will help Jody. It's her movie. Like, if you don't help her out, we'll lose the money. We'll lose the money. And he's kind of like, all right, well, that love interest is there. Again, parallel love story that I don't think really needed to go as long as it did. Sure, you can have that running in the movie. Tons of them do. But it just didn't fit. It seemed like there were two stories being told in this movie, or essentially two movies thrown together, like a rom-com and an action one that was some kind of an homage, which there's definitely some homage to Stuntman, because there were tons of stuntmen in this for sure. And I would offer there was plenty of like pretty dang on good stunts going on in it, right? Because they had to use real stunt people. Some great stunts, but that's where it kind of fell for me. There was ups and downs, peaks and valleys in this whole thing, but it didn't align. And to be honest, I mean, yeah, armchair quarterbacking, right? Sure, I could come up with a better idea, but I don't think it would have taken any more than maybe 5 more minutes sitting around the table. Like, okay, how about we just make them a PI or a
logical.
A bounty hunter. What's
that?
It was
logical. It was a logical step to take with the character.
It wasn't like this was a new movie,
after he crushed his
idea.
spine. I'm like, it all makes sense at that point.
Could have easily wrote that in, and
This is the most
like,
dedicated stuntman to a movie producer ever.
Right, exactly. And I just didn't get it, and it was always awkward. I'm like, okay, like, why are you having so much trouble expressing yourself? And she set him on fire like 8 times for like one scene. That was just hard to watch. I'm like, okay, so we're literally gonna light this man on fire just so you can get your point across and kind of slowly build this resentment that you've had all this year or 18 months, however long it was. You act like it was like 5 years ago. Like the dude broke his back on a fall, and it's like, oh, you didn't call me. Like, well, yeah, I was kind of probably paralyzed or something, but whatever. I was parking cars. I mean, I don't know if she checked up on him. I mean, she's still doing pretty good, right? Producing movies and directing movies. How about checking up on your old boy that fell off a building?
Yeah.
But I just didn't. And I love Emily Blunt. I love Ryan Gosling. But like for me, the chemistry just didn't fit. It was almost like they were whispering. I'm like, what is she saying? Why can't I understand what she's saying? And it wasn't like, okay, if you're gonna make it, comedic, make it funny. Go all in, or go all in with the love interest. Like it was like we're teetering on it, and I'm like, are you guys like trying to do this or not? Like it just didn't add anything to the story, in my opinion. You could have really, like said, either go all in or just do without it. It didn't add to the story.
I 100% agree. I'm a big fan of Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt as actors. I think they're really good. Like their presence on the screen to me, you're like, hey man, I'm totally down to watch anything you're in, because like it's just a I don't know, a warming character or a warming portrayal of a character. You can appreciate it. But like if you look at the story, the overall plot of it, you could legitimately, aside from Colt's motivation to try to get back into the game to be close to Jodie, you could chop her entire storyline out and you would not miss a beat after Colt gets pulled back into the movie scene. And that just tells you something.
Exactly.
Like I actually thought their chemistry was pretty good. I agree with you that fire rock sequence, it was just a pain to watch, man. You're just like, oh, will you please stop? It was just,
yeah, man. Will you drive me to my car? Remember that? He's like sitting there crying, waddling, thinking about he lost out on this love with her, blah blah blah. Listening to, was that Taylor Swift or something he was listening to?
Yes,
cranked up in the Jeep that he was borrowing, and she comes over, sits in there. They have this weird dialogue about swimsuits or whatever they call them in across the pond, and
Speedos.
No, it was some like swim outfit or whatever. I'm like, what? But anyway,
oh yeah.
Yeah, then it turns into, okay, can you give me a ride to my car? He's like, sure, and he pulls like 15 feet forward to her car, and just like, guys, I think you guys are struggling at trying to show this romance and this comedy at the just stop, and that was probably, I would say, the best comedy between the two, which I don't know, speaks volumes. There was definitely some better comedic interludes here and there, but again, was this like, it really wasn't a comedy. The show had comedy in it. I would say for the time it had great comedy back in the day, but this just, yeah, man, without Howie, you don't have the true, like, kind of a clown / funny guy you kind of like, but he's goofy, whatever. And the comedy just wasn't there for me, but I didn't go to this expecting a rom-com action movie. And then now, he's running around, he's fighting everybody. I'm assuming all of the choreography skills he's learned as a stunt guy, just really paid off. And he's beating the crap out of everybody who are actually bad guys, right? For the most part. And he's taken a pretty good whipping. But again, like I said, the action was there. There was lots of it. There was some, they had some nods again with the Easter eggs for example, the truck jump, right? They kind of threw that in there, which I was happy to see that, right? The traditional truck jump you would see from the original show. He does one after he's like chasing these guys down who have a girl kind of held hostage that's got this phone that has this evidence that they can't get in. And he does a truck jump in the middle of the city, and that obviously was kind of a nod to the original show. But yeah, go ahead, man.
While he makes sure to buckle in his dick-biting dog. That dog is actually one of the best parts of the movie. I'll just be honest with you.
Thank you.
Like,
with Stephanie Hsu's
knew the dog.
Yeah.
He knew what the dog was capable of, and he put that dog to work, man.
I take it all back.
Right.
The dog actually had the best comedy in the.
There you go.
The dog had it.
That's it. Four-legged feline will steal the show
best
every
actors
time.
In there, right?
Right.
Every time. So he might be related to John Wick 4. Those dogs.
Well, hopefully
John
not
Wick
the
4.
first
That could
John
have been a
Wick
relation. Right?
Or Spuds McKenzie.
Right. Well. But yeah, so like yeah, like talking about that scene with the dog, and I think the character name was Alma, and again we're like kind of introducing these characters. I'm like, okay, well, who are they? Why are they
Yeah.
relevant, right? But even Winston Duke. Winston Duke is a pretty decent dude to have on a movie. Dan Tucker, I think his character was. I'm like, okay, well, what is your point here? Like, why are you here? You're making great movie references, like, and that's like kind of this thing. He's just like throwing up movie reference, and then he's like getting in a fight with, helping Colt Seaver out. So I'm like, are you supposed to be this version of Howie?
I think that's what they were going for with
Right.
it. And I think it kind of worked, man, because
Right.
it reminded me of his time in Spencer Confidential when he was with Mark Wahlberg. Like, they had a good chemistry. Solid flick. Go
Another
check it on
good
Netflix.
movie, yeah. Yeah.
Like, man, I wish he would pop in on a sequel for that. Anything that guy's in, I usually enjoy, though. So it was nice to see him in there, even if it was not Howie.
Right.
Well, there was definitely one
Exactly. We don't
that
really
he
know
was
why.
in that I didn't enjoy, but I won't go there. But speaking of Black Panther, right?
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, guys. Hey, for you guys out there, you're probably gonna hate me. Black Panther sucked. But anyway, moving on. Rail, the guy. I think I like the guy as an actor. I think he's pretty good. I was stoked on the Easter eggs. That's what really kind of, quote unquote, saved this movie to some small smidgen of a degree for me. Another Easter egg like that phone, right? There was a scene where, they're back in the apartment again, and they're trying to find the code to unlock this phone. They find it, but in comes all the bad guys, right? They're kind of looking for him, the phone. They want the phone back, and so
Discount Blackwater.
yeah, exactly. Whacking Hut, and so they're fighting these guys. They're beating the crap out of them. They're using props. These ones were pretty accurate props, and both the Colt Seavers character and the Howie character, they're under the staircase, and Colt's got the phone in his hand, and the guy's about to shoot with, I think, like a shotgun through the wooden stairs, and essentially hit both of them. So Colt goes to push him, and for a split second, for those who know, for a split second, they do a slow-mo, and I mean a very small fragment of time, and they do a sound effect from the $6 Million Man. I'm like, oh, caught that. That was the Lee Majors, kind of another nod to the old school character that we kind of grew up loving, who watched this, the Fall Guy in the 80s, as well as there was a scene with the original looking truck from the Fall Guy. So that was great. So there were some key Easter eggs that kept me, with the action that was good, but kept me like wanting. I'd see that and I'm like, okay, you still got me here. I'm definitely not going to get up from the movie theater, but that was a good one to see, and it was a quick one you had to catch.
Yeah, and just really quick, just not to get away from the plot. They basically, the producer Gail, this is kind of a big setup, because the main actor mistakenly, they're at this party, and he kills the new stuntman.
Spartan kicks him or something.
It's like some weird, oh man, we partied so hard, we killed someone. I don't know what kind of party you guys are throwing, but you got to stop. And then it's like, oh, we'll just frame Colt Seaver. That makes perfect sense. I'm like, what? And then you're gonna go with an AI composite of putting Colt Seaver's face on, John Ryder's body.
So
like, yeah,
bad,
no,
man.
nobody's
So
gonna pick
bad.
that up. The investigation is gonna gloss
that
right
forensics
over
expert
that
will never know. Never.
Right?
You're good.
Like, okay,
You're good.
great.
There's no such thing as
Got
deep
it.
fakes, right?
Right, what I'm saying? We're gonna go back to the 80s for that part, because back in the 80s you probably would have gotten away with it, but not today. And it's just like, okay, so it, and the way that it kind of gives you these weird, like, flamboyant storylines, that's what kind of keeps it fun. But at the end of the day, it just didn't really coalesce for me. Like, it didn't come together. It wasn't like, okay, I get where we're going with this. It was almost like, all right, when do we get to the end of this, right? So like, going into like the movie that they were shooting, this weird futuristic cowboy movie, and I'm like, okay, like, we're all over the place, man. Like, where are we going? Like, how are you gonna wrap this up? And it's like, you kept waiting for, okay, we're wrapping up. No, okay, now we got a whole boat scene. Okay, what's happening here? And I think it was just opportunity for stuntmen to do stunts.
Yeah.
Hey man, we're gonna throw this in there so we can do a boat scene.
Which at least it made sense.
Like, and they just did it.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Right, you know
nothing
what I'm saying?
but homage to Stuntman. That's all this was.
And that's it. But then call the movie Stuntman.
Yeah, that would have been perfect name for it. Probably would have done better in the box office, to be honest.
Thank you. And then what you do is, if you call it Stuntman, and then you have these Fall Guy references, like, oh, shout out to Fall Guy. okay, cool, that's cool. You shouted him out, but it's not Fall Guy, because I'm looking for Fall Guy. Like if you're calling it Fall Guy, it is 5 years of footage that we have to reference. And yeah, I want to see more of what you're calling Fall Guy because I grew up on that. You know what I mean? So just like kind of just glossing over the whole thing. Like I said, the action scenes were fun. They're just a little bit, some a little disjointed. He gets high and on whatever that drug was, and he sees like a unicorn. The guy's like, "Oh, well, how do I know what's wearing off?" Oh, you'll see a unicorn. It's like just a unicorn randomly in the scene when he's like coming down off this high. Okay, that was
just
weird.
So goofy. That fight scene with all the little weird sparks popping up, and yeah, I mean, I'd have to, had to say it was nothing but homage, really, to stuntmen and women everywhere. So shout out to you guys, right? I'm all about that.
Let's do it later. Want to go to a beach somewhere?
Drink a spicy margarita.
Make some bad decisions.
Yes.
They definitely work hard. I don't know how hard that is, but it's definitely hard. They take some bumps, bruises, and
dangerous.
then some. Yeah. And shout out to Nobody, which was our first one that we did a review on, and they did a little, Easter egg plug to that one as well when they were going through the stunts. I'm like, man, hey, there's the fight scene, the bus fight scene. So they did a bunch of that, and there was a bunch of, like I said, a bunch more. Well, not a bunch. There were a few more Easter eggs. I mean, you got to give it up to even though I did not like this chain of movies, the Fast and Furious series, but hey, Aquaman's in there. I mean, Jason Momoa makes a guest appearance, right? So there's that Easter egg, and then there's a couple more here and there. But I was really kind of stoked on the Easter eggs. Really, that's what did it for me, and some of the action.
I will say that I think the post credit scene saved this movie. Like honestly, when Aaron Taylor Johnson, like I don't even remember how he ends up getting placed, but he ends up walking into like the pyro field, and it doesn't end well for him. And I was like, cool, that character's dead. I'm excited. Like you did something right. You did something with some style in this movie. Like rock on, man. I wasn't in love with Fall Guy as a kid watching the TV show. I knew the show. I know Lee Majors. 18 was my jam. So I can appreciate the love that you guys have for the television show and the sadness in your hearts of watching this movie. I can only imagine. It's kind of like watching,
and I will
say, watching Roadhouse again, Amazon.
Yeah.
And just because you have 80 million views doesn't mean it's a good fucking movie. Don't make Roadhouse 2. Talk to Jake Busey. He knows how that ends out.
Or talk to Gary Busey and get a better sausage.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Yes. There was a joke before we started.
And I got to admit, man, I thought the Jason Momoa part was absolutely hilarious. Like, that dude is just living his best life. And it's contagious. When you see a guy like that, when he is acting as goofy as he does in some of his movies, man, it's contagious. You want to watch.
It looks like he's enjoying himself every time, right? He's always enjoying himself, and it's like you never see him having a bad day, right? But I will say, and I'm gonna go ahead and say, man, just seeing, I'm gonna give it to you, man. I'm gonna give you the spoiler, people. If you don't want to know, then now's the time. But Lee Majors,
shout out,
Lee Majors makes his appearance in this movie, and the original GMC truck, Heather Thomas, original Jody was in it. I was looking for Howie, Douglas Barr didn't make an appearance. I don't know why. The guy is still around. He's still doing things as far as I know. But just seeing that, I mean, Lee Majors is 85, man. I mean, good God, that guy just looks like ageless.
Right? Every day.
It was good to see him.
He looks every day of 50.
Yeah, right. And we got our Fall Guy theme song. I think what Blake Shelton
is that?
I think did the remake of that.
It was actually
good. That was
a good cover. That was a good version.
Yeah,
man.
I mean,
I liked it.
And I'm like. Yeah. I applauded. I said, man, that's all I needed. That's all I needed. Wasn't enough to save this movie.
No.
But it was still good to know that, man, our heroes are still around, man. We're losing a lot of them, but some of our heroes are still around. So that part is what kind of did it for me.
I gave it the big, the old guy fist bump in the air when I saw him, and I was like, yes, because I told Eric before I even saw this, he had already seen it. I'm like, man, if they don't have at least the truck, a cameo from Lee Majors or the song, then I'm gonna be disappointed. And they had all three, so I was stoked. And Lee Majors even had that. What's that?
and still disappointed.
Yeah, how can you feel all those emotions at once? They found a way.
It's easy. Resident Evil does it to me every year.
Oh, yes, umbrellas.
Oh,
But he and Lee Majors had the Fall Guy hat on. I'm like, well, all right, cool. This is this is awesome. At least getting I got 3 out of what I was hoping I'd maybe get 1 of, and then they had the $6 million man piece, and I was like, oh, okay, it quote unquote saved it from destruction, total annihilation for me. But overall, I was just kind of disappointed, but I was still happy to see him. So I walked away smiling because man, I got to see Lee Majors on silver screen again. This is awesome. So I was stoked. That's how I felt about the movie. So what are you guys thinking, man, on maybe a score or rating? Should we just skip it? I don't know.
No, let's do it,
we
man.
gotta do it.
I
We
thought people
gotta
had
do
more to
it.
say. That's why I didn't roll into the score part, but let's do it.
Yeah, no, I've got nothing.
You don't have a score?
Like I said, guys, this is not your fault, guys. Leave it for the next generation. This is nope. Sorry, nope. Only in name. Only in name. That's the only thing that's the same.
Come in for the last 5 minutes of it, and that's after the credits.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
Well, I can kick off the score if you guys don't mind.
Yeah,
All right.
for
Well,
it, dude.
before I do that, I need to clarify one thing because I mentioned Resident Evil and how they do me pretty much dirty all the time. I'm mentioning the media outside of games. Like the games are phenomenal. I absolutely love the games. But I'm talking to you, Netflix. You keep fucking up Resident Evil, and I don't appreciate it. And whoever owns the rights now, fix themselves. I think it's Sony. Sony, fix yourself. Make one for the fans. We'll show up. I promise you.
Stay true to the original content. You cannot go wrong.
City.
Stick with the lore.
Yeah.
The fans will show up. Promise you. Anyways, this movie sucked, man. I gave it a 3. I like Ryan Gosling.
How you really feel?
It really sucked.
Yeah.
I could have easily hacked a fucking 40 minutes out of this movie. Sorry, man. I like Ryan Gosling. I like Emily Blunt. Even on screen, they're good in this movie. Just the plot was just so goofy, man, and aspects are missing from the show. I know you're not going to get everything. Fans don't always get what they want. Fans are toxic, whatever. At the end of the day, like there's just certain marks, man. You can't have the A-Team without Mr. T. You just can't. It's a staple of the character and of the universe. So that being said, yeah, sorry to say, man, I don't hate you as much as Roadhouse, but it just wasn't good. It wasn't good. And I appreciate and love stunt people and the professionalism they do because I think practical effects are an incredible enhancer for movies. And I think CGI should be used a little bit more in moderation. Nothing beats practical effects. And the stunt folks that do that stuff are, I don't know, guts for days, man. Guts for days.
Yeah. Absolutely. And they know they're going to get hurt doing it. And that's what makes it phenomenal. And a lot of these big time actors have their own stuntmen. I know The Rock really takes care of his guy. I actually read up on that because stuntmen don't make as much as you would think.
I read an article they gifted him a truck.
Oh yeah, I mean The Rock is just really gracious to his stunt guy because how many guys look like The Rock? I tried out, but I was too short.
I can see.
Anyway, so
I think you can pull it off. You should try it a second time, man.
I stand on a bench or something. But so again, and this is me coming from 1981 through 86, man, till now. The movie I had it at a 1-2, and then the Lee Majors cameo did a little bit to save it, but not much. So I gave it a 3. And that's, like I said, it's primarily because when you call yourself Fall Guy, I'm going to expect, I have a higher standard. They just didn't meet it for me. I mean, can you watch this movie and enjoy it? Sure. I mean, it really depends on what you're looking for. But once you kind of cross that line, like a Roadhouse, like if you call it something else, all right, I'm not scrutinizing it quite as tight, So this was, like I said, a great homage to stuntmen, and you really appreciate it, and you see like, wow, man, the times have really changed, and these guys don't get enough recognition for what they put their bodies through just to bring you entertainment, and like it'll take them 2 days to film a scene for 5 seconds worth of film. So I mean, that's just nothing more, selfless.
I would say real quick, sorry to interrupt, guys, but I love the fact they point out that stunt people are the only profession in film that don't get representation at the Academy Awards. And I find that absolutely disgusting because there is so much danger and prep work that those folks have to do for that kind of risk, and to not get recognized, I just think is just a shame. And I think the Academy should absolutely
Absolutely.
change it. But then again, I think the Academy Awards are bullshit at this point. So
Yeah, well, they're going away from it anyway. You know what I mean? So like I know Jackie Chan is big at taking care of his stunt
nice.
guys. You know, so when you kind of grow up doing that, and that's your bread and butter, you learn a different appreciation. A lot of people they just want to see a film. They don't really know what goes into, it, which is why we shout out at Key Grips. And so yeah, I gave it a 3. So Chris, you let me know how you felt about
Yeah,
it, man.
first off, I ain't getting on no plane, but ain't getting on plane, boo. With the feather earrings. Yeah, so I was at like a 3, 4, somewhere around there. But because they had all 3 of the things I wanted, and then they had a couple more. They had the hat. It seems minuscule to me, but like those little details make me happy. They had the hat. They had the $6 million one, so that one was way out of left field. So all in all, for me, that brought it to a 5. I couldn't give it any more than a 5. Uh, but that was a combination of this is it seemed like a true homage in the real, not the side story of the love thing, but true homage to the stunt guys. Like Grant pointed out, they brought up hey, they don't really get recognized. There was a whole bunch of after credit stuff about it. Even at the beginning, before the movie started, they were sitting around talking about stunt guys. So to me, it was a true homage to stunt guys. Lots of stunts in there. Cool. And I got all the things that I was hoping to get to a degree, and the theme song thing. So that put it at a 5 for me, man. So yeah, that's where I'm at on it. Shout out to Lee Majors, bro.
So that brings our tally to a whopping 3.66666667. And that puts us just above Justice League 2017. So that's where we're at on our Beards of War leaderboard for our rankings. And yeah. So, hey, man, appreciate you guys coming out and checking out our video. We're going to do kind of a classic for next week. So we're all excited for it. It's a fantastic movie. Good family fun. Absolutely.
Put her in charge.
Why don't you put her in charge?
Any fan of the movie is going to get that reference. So there you go.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, what we're doing next week.
Ripley.
Sorry, it's hard to hold that one in, man.
But yeah, man, we're doing Aliens. So because
there you go,
the
baby.
classics never get old, and it's an amazing film. And I'll pass it over to you guys.
Yeah, man. I got nothing, man. Looking forward to next week. Just if you guys aren't there, I hope you're there. But if you're not there, just keep looking over your shoulder and in your vents. But other than that, man, Chris out. Beards of War.
All right, subscribe, comment, get down there. Let's go. Thick Nick Fury out.